You've got 15 minutes. We've got go-to-market strategy and real talk. I'm Lindsay.
And I'm Mandy. This is Your Future Biz Unfiltered, the podcast for founders and go-to-market leaders who want to scale smarter and stay sane while doing it.
Each short episode includes a tactical takeaway, from ICPs to poopy pipelines to LinkedIn DMs that don't suck.
In other words, this isn't your podcast ran by sales bros in Patagonia vests. This is Your Future Biz Unfiltered.
Who the bleep are you selling to? So tech companies, just saying tech companies, that's not a target. It's a cop-out. So if you don't know exactly who you're selling to, you're not building a business. You're just going to be throwing spaghetti on the wall. We're going to tell you how to define your real ICP, ideal customer profile, and how to actually find them on LinkedIn and other places. So let's talk about why generic ICPs fail. I'm your co-host, Lindsay Rios, your favorite go-to-market fractional leader.
And I'm your other co-host, Mandy McEwen, founder and CEO of Mod Girl Marketing and Luminetics. Yes, I love this topic on ICPs because if we don't get the ICP right, you're not going to get anything right. So it's just not going to work.
It's just not going to work.
Not going to work.
Really not. This is why one of my core offerings is literally about helping companies fix this, because this is tends to be the root of so many of the issues that businesses of all sizes have.
And this happens so much. I mean, I've been an entrepreneur for 15 years now, and I've been coaching other entrepreneurs for a while. And literally more times than not, when I'm like, okay, who's your target audience? B2B founders. What does that even mean? What do you mean B2B founders? Or my favorite, small businesses. I'm like, okay, that is not
in America.
Right, in America. Like, come on, we gotta drill down. Like, the more specific we can get, the better. So, Lindsay, let's first talk about symptoms of a weak ICP. So what happens when we do have a super broad persona? What's the problem there?
Symptoms are going to be like you're having no conversion, and that can be anywhere in your funnel. So if you're doing cold outreach and it's not converting into responses, meetings, it could be you can build a lot of pipeline to get people to talk to you because maybe the problem that you're solving for is really interesting, but then you can never get them to actually buy. Somewhere in your funnel, if you're having major conversion issues at some point, like that's a huge symptom. If you're further into your business journey and you have actual paying customers or even just users that are free, they churn. Like they churn
Absolutely.
Constantly, right? When you feel like you're trying to sell and it feels like you're trying to convince versus you're actually solving a problem with them and partnering with them, that's another really easy kind of symptom to realize you're not focusing on a real ICP, which doesn't happen until you have enough departments in your business. Is that whole like salespeople are like, marketing, your leads suck, right? But then customer success is like, dude, sales are the worst. They just close anybody. They don't sell to the right customers. And then everyone's always mad at product because they're all like, you just keep making stuff that nobody wants. So if that's your narrative in your company, you have a problem with your ICP.
You have a massive chaotic problem that needs fixed ASAP.
Yeah, right away.
So you have a story that I enjoyed that I think our listeners would too about a real life example of this playing out and what happens.
Yeah. So the very first time I was a head of sales, the first time head of sales role, it was the literal journey to 1 mil. The problem we were solving seemed amazing. There was some really cool like paid proof of concept customers with some really cool logos that rhymes with Shmesh by. So that for me at the time thought like, oh, this is it. This is worth like joining and building an entire enterprise sales motion around. The founder, one of the founders and the CEO, he was this really well-connected person with really cool brands. So our problem really lent well to really like luxurious retail brands because it was all about customer experience. So, I got to talk to the owner of like Max Mara, and like, cool. Really cool stuff. And everyone was always so interested in talking with us. And everyone was so interested in doing a supposed paid proof of concept or an actual legit deal. But the problem was that Hardly ever, because we ever get someone to actually then sign a contract. So building all this pipeline, you know, in those early days made it feel like we had all these green flags. We're doing something right. It convinced enough investors to even want to invest, you know, money. But the problem is that it was all the saying yes to everything. Yes, we can do that. Yes, we'll work with you. Because, you know, just
yes,
saying we're
ma'am.
ICP, as anyone who has a digital business, that's not an ICP, right? That's just, and then even saying luxury retail businesses, also not an ICP. And so, you know, our demise, part of it, there's so many variables as to why startups, you know, don't make it. But like, it was not enough to be able to build a ton of pipeline and a ton of people to say yes to just talking with us and seemingly be excited, because at the end of the day, we did not have enough closed revenue.
When we're talking about this example, so not just luxury retail, we need to get specific. So tell us more specifically in that exact example, what would be an ideal persona?
The other thing I didn't mention, but like, we also opened up a Hong Kong office at the time, right? And so then we started getting, so which at the time, when you're first time, you know, like leader of any department, or even just a founding like AE, all these things might seem like cool and exciting to you, versus you actually seeing red flags of like, wait, we're going way too wide and we're not narrowing enough. We also had a Hong Kong office, which because we had someone who was really, he was an investor, but he was also just kind of really involved in helping the company, and he was well connected out there, which then also helped with all these connections with Australia as well. So like all these countries. So it's like I would talk at all different sort of hours of the day, you know, and then there's all these language like product requests that we would get, because now we're serving people in, you know, China, but then also in Italy and Spain. And it was like, and then we started getting resellers.
Before we even figured it out in America.
Before we even figured out America. And so here's the thing. We were in America. Yes, we had a guy in Hong Kong, but why did we need to do, we should have just stayed focused on where our product had already been built in terms of like language, geographically, like where we could really truly serve. Because if we're selling a customer service platform, we also had to give fantastic, well, not even customer experience.
Sure.
We have to provide a wonderful customer experience. That's going to be hard when we are a bootstrap startup with a small team of people, and then having to be present everywhere. Just because people will talk to us doesn't mean we should. So I should have pumped the brakes on that right then and there. We also just kept being okay with trying to integrate with kind of like any and every technology, any tech stack that our customers had. And so that was also really distracting and wasn't good. So we could have absolutely narrowed in on just companies that used a certain combination. There's plenty of TAM, right? Total addressable market, to be focusing there. And the other one that really stood out to me after when I reflected was the size of companies that we were working with, because it actually lent really well, like I said, for the larger retail brands because this was in 2020, so COVID hit. So the one major like exciting customer that we did close was Mercedes-Benz, because the automotive industry was totally suffering from people not being able to buy cars in person. We made it so that people could buy their cars completely through this online platform. We should have stuck there and just gone after all the other ones. But then we were also working with other bootstrap startups. That was silly, right? So if I could have gone back, just some of the immediate filters would have been size and revenue of the company, the size of the literal like financial size of the problem that they were suffering from not being able to have people purchase in person, geographic location, and technology they were working with.
A lot of times we just get too excited and want to do it all, you know.
In particular, when you're in that 0 to 5 million journey, because you just want to grow and make it. And so anyone that wants to give you a potential amount of money, you just say, I'll do it.
Of course, yeah, let's do it. Because you think, I land one of these and it's going to take off and it's going to, and so you want to broaden it. You're like, well, yeah, I'm going to do this one and this one because I'm going to do all of these things and then see which one really takes off. When it's not realistic to be able to do it that way. It's just, you got to focus and look at what's happening. Like you mentioned with the Mercedes-Benz, like this is a clear sign. This is an indicator. Something is working. Let's tap into that as much as we possibly can before moving on to the next thing. And I think people just get way too excited before they really exhaust all of the angles with that one thing that we know is working, with that one customer and that one ICP that we know is working, and they move on too fast because they get too excited.
You know those unicorns that everyone keeps chasing, the rocket ships? Ugh, I hate saying that now. It sucks. But those companies, whether it was on purpose or not, they were solving a real problem and they were doing it for the right ICP. And they just stayed on it. And that's why they 5x'd in growth and just catotted. It's not because it's
boring. They started off hella boring. They didn't start off opening offices in Hong Kong and Australia, and that's not how any of these people started. They started doing something boring over and over and over again until they got really freaking good at it. Mm-hmm. Then it catapulted into the ChatGPT rocket emoji that you hate.
And when they catapulted and then they expanded more, they went to the closest next thing that was already what they were doing too. They didn't go like, well, now that we tackle enterprise, we're only going to go focus on early stage start. No.
And so I think the goal and the lesson here for everyone is to focus, get hyper focused on your ICP. So we're going to give you all a tactical takeaway now, and I'll have Lindsay explain a mini audit of your ICP so we can get super uber specific before we move on to the next phase, which is nailing your value prop. So what's the mini audit they can do, Lindsay?
Yeah, because again, we are in this journey you're on with us, starting kind of at the beginning of building a company. So one thing that, Mandy and I hear a lot is it's just really hard to know who my ICP is when I've just started out, right? But you have to still give yourself these mini audits. And especially if you're crazy early stage, that 0 to 1 mil kind of stage 2, I actually recommend doing this like monthly. So take a look at just some basics. Geographic location, size of the actual company if you're selling B2B, like literal like employee size and revenue that they're doing. What is the pain point that you think they're having that you're solving for, making sure that still aligns. Who are the actual personas, so the title of people that you've been working with. And then see if you can go back, if you have any data now on either conversions throughout your funnel. So if you have a website, if you have outreach of any sort, what are the conversion rates from those top of funnel activities? If you have pipeline, what are the conversion rates that you're actually getting in your deal stages and into close won and close lost business? And then you have actual customers looking at length of how long they've been a customer. If you have any expansion, looking at those conversion rates. So take a look at your data because that's your objective mirror to see, okay, who is giving me the highest conversion rates? Who is the easiest to work with? So not convincing, but easiest to work with. Who's staying with me the longest? And what attributes like those location and size and all that, what are the things that I consistently see as a pattern? What do I have in common? If you only have 5 customers, that's okay. We have things like ChatGPT now, right? To help us point these things out.
Yes.
You don't need to go get a spreadsheet and do it,
Dump it all into Chad or your name, whatever you name the ChatGPT.
This is Chad, mine is Jade, and together they work really well. But use your whatever one you want to help you see the patterns. You might not see them yourself, but do this like every month. And then as you become a more established company, you don't have to do them so often, but just go mini audit your ICP constantly so that you can make sure you can continue to get more and more specific. Because like we said, we're going to talk a lot about what your value prop is next.
Okay, now go build something cool.
If you like what you hear, or at least didn't hate it, hit that follow or subscribe button so you don't miss an episode.
And if you didn't know, this is a video podcast too. So if you want to see our lovely faces, go check us out on YouTube and subscribe there.
And just like that, another business problem got a little bit clearer, because in the business world, it's not about who raises first.
It's about who lasts.